Welcome to episode 219 of Wealth Talk. My name is Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for WealthBuilders, joined today by our founder, Mr. Kevin Whelan. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Chris. Good to be with you again.
Today's guest is Ed Moore. He's a teacher, primary school teacher, and we're tying back into the theme of Wealth Builders for Families, Kevin, which, of course, we launched last month. And we've had a great first month. We've had some fantastic speakers come in and talk with our members. We had Dr. Shelley James talking about why natural light is critical for young minds. We've had Will Rainey, who's the Amazon best-selling author of Grandpa's Fortune Fables. He was sharing some lessons with our members. And it's all based around the 7 family wealth principles, Kevin. And specifically today with Ed, we're diving into number 4, which is purpose. Mm-hmm. So perhaps just a quick reminder would be useful, Kevin, of the 7.
Well, I'll talk about the purpose one, which is obviously an important one, because the whole idea around purpose is to create some form of living of your life, or even during a transition, where what you're doing is you're making decisions on something that's really, really important to you. And often we hear the words passion and purpose linked together. And I think when it comes to younger children, the more you can just give them exposure to different ideas, that helps them shape what becomes their purpose in the future. Because it's that willing to make mistakes, that creativity that exists in our younger people. But this happens throughout, right? We all find our passion and purpose in life somewhere down the line. You know, I didn't get mine till I was 28, 29. Didn't have anything. Although having said that, I reflect on it. I did have a good economics teacher when I was about 14. And I think that probably did make a difference. And maybe I just haven't recognized that as I talk about it. So the ability for people to be influencers, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a parent, whether it's a relative or a grandparent, all really, really important. And we often hear, and we have heard from our members, that sometimes children of all ages often will respond better when it's somebody else passing on the lesson, isn't it, really, in making the distinction. And it's great that Ed, who's such an enthusiastic and award-winning teacher, recognized nationally as someone who's outstanding in his field, and it all came from his own influence, which we'll get to hear about.
Absolutely. Yeah. So today, this conversation really is about giving children a platform to really explore and delve into their passions, which can ignite that entrepreneurial spark, as we will hear. So probably time for us to head on over to our conversation today with Mr. Ed Moore. Ed, welcome to Wealth Talk. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Well, we caught you on half term because you're normally busy in the classroom, Ed, aren't you?
Yeah, fully busy. Don't really get much time to do anything else other than, doing teaching during the day. So it's nice to have a bit of a break and be able to talk to you about, about environmental information. And
It's incredible the work that you're doing, Ed, and no wonder that you've won multiple national awards for what you're doing. So before we get into the work inside the schools, your passion obviously around ecological issues, the environment, let's find out a bit more about your background. So you've been a teacher for 11 years, Ed, at the tell us about the school that you work at.
Yeah, so I work at Damer's First School in Dorchester and Dorset. I've been there for 11 years. And I teach all the subjects, teach all the primary subjects, but my biggest passion is the environment and sustainability.
Yeah, and where does that stem from?
It stems from my granddad. My granddad was a head teacher himself. He had a huge passion about growing fruits and vegetables in his garden. He would never go to the supermarket. He would always grow his own, make his own bread. And he had a real passion for teaching children and particularly his students when you could back in the day in his garden, in his greenhouse, showing them, all the variety of things that could be grown.
Yeah. And without that, perhaps you wouldn't have been introduced to that in school yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Without having that opportunity of seeing him during his retirement years, seeing him enjoy the garden and being being able to be part of helping him in his garden, I probably wouldn't have had that passion that I do have now.
Yeah. So how is that translated now into the work that you're doing in the school at the moment? I know it's been a long process over the last 11 years, and I really want to get into some of the challenges perhaps that you faced inside the education system to try and get some of these new things onto the, say the curriculum, whether that's officially or unofficially. But just so our listeners know, what are some of the things that you're doing right now with the children?
Oh, we're growing, the children grow their own fruits and vegetables in our garden, and they sell sell the produce as in a market, local market down the road, or in the school after school for a donation. Also, all our food waste goes into like a big food waste composter. None of it leaves to our site, and we make this amazing compost for our school grounds. But we can also sell it for a donation to the community, or we even collaborate with our local town council, who use it in all their garden raised beds or playing fields to help the grass regrow. So we're doing some fantastic stuff, not just for our school but also for our community.
Absolutely. And of course, we're on Wealth Talk podcast, right? So we always want to tie something in some way to, the wealth related lessons. And there's many of those, because not only are you doing great work for the environment, but the children are learning, as you said, about skills such as selling, marketing, being more confident, socializing, connecting. So what are some of the side effects that, these activities are having?
Confidence. So much confidence. Children coming out with so much confidence. They're being inspired to even, through the entrepreneurship projects that we do, children are inspired to go out and have a go at, launching their own project, their own like little company that you have on the roadside that you might see in America, sort of thing. They're going out and thinking, "Oh, could I bake some cakes? Could I make something? Could I make some bird houses? Could I make a key ring? What else could I be doing to, maybe make some pocket money on the side, through the work that I'm doing here, at our school?"
Yeah. So it's really having a ripple effect, isn't it? You're kind of sowing the seeds, and, we have 7 family wealth principles, and principle number 3 is planting seeds, which is all about, time for children to, start early and reap the benefits further down in life. But I think purpose is the key principle here. You're really instilling purpose. And as you said to me, giving children a platform to explore and delve into their own passions. And how important is that, Ed?
Oh, really important. It sets them up for the future. To be have that passion of, whether that's making seed bombs, for example, making, using recycled paper that is then mixed with wildflower seeds, which then could go in the ground and, make a beautiful like meadow sort of thing. You're raising money for the school, but you're also contributing to nature and encouraging bees and butterflies to enjoy that meadow too.
So I mentioned some of the awards you've won. Tell us about those, Ed.
Yeah, so amazing. Really, really humbled to be able to have won so many awards. Eco Schools, Eco Primary School of the Year, Surf Against Sewage Plastic Schools Champion, Jane Goodall, Roots and Shoots, Best Educational Institution of the Year. And that's a really prestigious award. That's up against universities and colleges, and we're a first school. We're 4 to 9 years old, and to think that such young children are making such a huge difference, not just in our community but across the United Kingdom and the world is phenomenal, and very proud of what we do.
But it wasn't always like that, was it, Ed? So when you joined 11 years ago, did you have any vision at the beginning, or is it something that's naturally built over that time?
When I first joined the school, I thought there was, the outside area was amazing, and the one thing that they didn't have was an allotment, was a school garden. I thought, cool, there's there's something in this.
Yeah.
There's something that we need to instill in children and staff as well, of how they can look after their environment, because children thought their food came from like the supermarket, and they didn't understand about the money side, and that actually, cool, could we grow something and then actually like sell it and then make some money, and then that money could then we then spend it, and then it will come back round, and we could like make a business of this sort of thing. And then it steamrolled from there, from the garden. The garden was the starting point. That started it all off, and then it just steamrolled from there.
Mm. So within the education system, we know that they don't teach children really lessons about entrepreneurship, about business, about money. So how easy or how difficult has it been to start to introduce this, and how have you gone about funding that as well?
Yeah, it was really difficult to start with. I think, trying to inspire children to want to take part in something like this was a real challenge. But through Young Enterprise, who are a fantastic organisation, and their $5 challenge, they also do a $10 challenge. I thought that we could use that process. So basically, each child has £5, and we put the £5 together within the team. So say we've got 20 children within our team, we've got £100, and then that £100 can then help set up the business. But then you've got to pay that money back out of what you out of what you make, sort of thing. So the first year, we just got to work of putting together a business, and it was called Garden Grenades, which was recycled school paper mixed with wildflower seeds that we'd managed to get off the local garden centre for free. And children had the opportunity to sell at farmers markets and outside supermarkets. But then the following year, it really built up. It really ramped up, because we made about £1,000 in our first year. But then in our second and third years, particularly our third year, when we made Wax-tastic No Plastic, which is an alternative to cling film, and we had 100% cotton material dipped in beeswax, and we got the cotton for free, we had the beeswax for free, we had parents and adults cutting up the material for us, we had the children and adults making the product. We got in a graphic designer to help us make the logo. And then I think the turning point, the big thing, was getting car salesmen and estate agents to come in and actually coach the children how to sell. And that's really important, I think, because for me, it's not about children standing behind a table and sort of saying, waiting for them to come and, here's your £2.50. For me, it's, let's go out there and sell our product. Let's see if we can get people to come to us. And my word, we made, in our third year, we made that £5,000–6,000 pounds. And the selling was amazing. And the children really, it gave them so much confidence to be able to go up to strangers and suddenly just, hook them in to come to their stall and, come and buy their product. Absolutely phenomenal.
I think it's absolutely incredible. I love it so much. I can only imagine how much the children enjoy that as well. And is this optional for the children? Is it? And where do you fit this in within the normal school day?
Yeah, so this is like optional. It's run as a club after school. I would love it to be part of the curriculum. I know in Wales they have really sort of embedded entrepreneurship within their school curriculum, and I would love it to be part of our curriculum. I think money is so important. It's dying. We look at now when we go into shops, we're all forever using our credit cards or our Visa card, our debit cards, and actually children using money is it's dying within school, and in the community as well. They don't get to use it as much because they're forever seeing their parents and even themselves, I think, even now, use a card to tap onto.
Yeah, that's right. You mentioned there that Wales are perhaps opening up a little bit more to the idea of including these into the curriculum, but in England still not. And why do you think that is, Ed?
Really good question. I think our curriculum is narrow. We need to be more broader about, and giving children more opportunities to be able to experience these life skills. And I think, these life skills really build upon inspiring children to want to, be an entrepreneur, start their own business. And it really starts within our curriculum. And it's something the government really do need to look at. And I know that Young Enterprise are trying to, they're trying to get money matters, back on the curriculum headlines.
Have you seen any evidence, Ed, of some of the children that perhaps you worked with in the early stages of this as they've grown up and progressed through the school when it comes to kind of career decisions and next stage of education, that now this is remaining inside of them, this bug, and they're not looking at perhaps traditional routes into employment, but they're now thinking about how can they create value and create income streams themselves?
Oh, definitely. It's great to bump into children that, you started working with when they were like 6, 7 years old, and they're now in secondary school, and they're now doing like a business A level, a business BTEC. They want to do business at university. They're going more, they want to go into college, and they want to do their levels 2, 3, 4, hands-on experience, or even, working in a business and building their way up, to learn those skills, to keep on building on the skills that they've already learned within school. So yeah, so much, so good, so good for the future of business, I say.
Yeah. And I know it's a struggle for the schools, right? The funding is tight, and I think you're proving, aren't you, that you don't necessarily have to wait for the green light from the government, that you can implement this. It is possible. You're living proof of this. So are you starting to have an impact on other schools? Have you seen other schools begin to introduce this in a similar way to what you're doing?
Yeah, a lot more schools are, introducing, whether they're doing the Fiver Challenge or the Tenner Challenge, they're really instilling that within their ethos of their schools. And I know lots of schools, they're trying to squeeze it in to their curriculum, which is already, tight packed as it is. But I think, it could be easily linked to maths, PSCHE. There's lots of different, subject areas where it could easily be woven into. And I know schools are looking at that, this year and next.
And for any parents that may be listening to this, Ed, and they would really love to see this in their school, they'd love their children to have the opportunity, what would be your recommendation to them? I'd really really encourage them to, look into Young Enterprise, look into the Fiver Challenge, really, really press their schools to, encourage them to do the Fiver Challenge. It's a great competition with great rewards, but not just on the financial side, but on the personal side as well. And I think it'd be, lots of schools seem to do it with their year sixes when SATs are over, because there's a big chunk there at the end of the summer term where they're not doing as much, and that is a good way to use it. But we like to use it as a further down, further on early, we've even got foundation children taking part, who are really maths wizards. So, really, press your head teachers, press your schools to, and say, this really matters to us. We want our children to be entrepreneurs or starting their own business or having these life skills. And, this is a good place to start. Yeah, it sure is, Ed. And if anyone listening would like to connect with you, to have a look and see some of the things that you're doing online, where's the best place for them to head?
Yeah, so you can head to LinkedIn, Ed Moore on LinkedIn, or you can head to Facebook. I've got a Facebook page, Get to Net Zero with Ed Moore. And please send me a message on there, on either. That'd be great.
Yeah, Ed, you're going to be delivering a live session face-to-face for our families members later on this month. So we're really looking forward to that. And of course, they'll have the opportunity to dive into some of the things we've been talking about today in a bit more detail with you. So thanks for that. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing with our listeners today.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Enthusiastic man, Mr. Moore. We can hear that in his voice. He's been doing fantastic things for many years. And before we take a deeper look into some of those ideas that Ed was sharing, let's head on over to Trustpilot and pull out one of our reviews from the last 7 days. And I'm going to pull one out, actually. This one, actually, going back probably a couple of weeks or so, from Albert, who's said, huge thank you to Kevin and Christian for traveling up to Manchester to host this networking event. The hospitality was outstanding. It was great to network with other wealth builders and be surrounded by people with similar aspirations. Thanks again. There we go.
Well, yeah, it shows the community, is growing, and why we're so delighted that we're being acknowledged for getting out and about and meeting, the people that we want to serve. And it was great to do that. And as I said, looking forward to Birmingham and then subsequent. So where do people go, Chris, to find out about when we're coming to a town near you? Where would they do that?
Yeah, wealthbuilders.co.uk/events. I can say that right now we've only got up until the end of this year. So November will probably be our last live face-to-face event of 2023, but we will be updating that page. So that is the URL to bookmark and go and check that out to find out where we'll be in the coming months.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So Ed, inspired at a young age by his own grandfather, who, again, had a passion for really helping children understand about the environment, planting their own vegetables. And we talk about from cradle to grave. Certainly with what we're doing at Wealth Builders here now, Kevin, is, both directions.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, traditionally, so much of, let's call it financial guidance, training, education, is aimed at the eyes of an individual. Sometimes it's a couple. But we're expanding that. We believe that it's really important, yes, to focus on the founders, the pioneers, those people who are perhaps for the first time taking the step towards building recurring income, building wealth, building a legacy. But nonetheless, we realize that the influence we want to give to our younger generation needs to be balanced by also understanding the values of the older generation. You talked about that with your thoughts about how wealth builders and families would work together, because you don't have children of your own, but you wanted to honor the memory and respect the values of your own family. And I think Ed did a good job of explaining that too, with the respect and appreciation that's lasted him a lifetime, and even so far, but will continue way beyond this. And you can see the ripples and the effects that he's having. And I'm proud that he decided to share that with us, really, because I do remember, although I was never an eco warrior, I do remember, Chris, a story from my own daughter, Holly, when she was, what do I think now, 7, 8, probably, similar to the ages of the people that Ed is influencing right now. And my daughter, Holly, was known really under the sort of auspices of Holly the squirrel saver. and that was fun and interesting to think back that all she did really was saying we don't have in this school any form of recycling. This was way back now. She's in her 30s now. And when they said, for her homework, why is this important to you? She said, because every time we don't use paper or we waste paper, we're cutting down a tree which destroys the habitat of the squirrels. And you can see that coming from the shaky pen of a 7 or 8-year-old. And that was just really what is happening now, and that happens all over the place. I mean, Greta Thunberg, the major eco warrior, started this at 15. She was seeing very similar things, and then gradually has kind of emerged into almost a worldwide character, influencing governments of the United Nations and everything else. So from small things and from small ideas, big things can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does prove that when you're on a mission, you can make almost anything happen. And we know funding hasn't really been available. It's not been through that method that Ed has been able to do this. It's through him just keep pushing away and doing little bits, and expanding over the last 10 years or so. But the one thing that really struck me was when he said just how much confidence those young children now have, and that he's inspiring them to think more creatively. And that's surely fostering an entrepreneurial mindset in them at a young age.
Or even if it isn't, it's fostering a caring mindset, or one that's about understanding how to not do harm, but to create value. And I think, true, that's an entrepreneurial thing right there. And certainly some of those children of their mind has been changed, and their careers will be changed by the ability to do entrepreneurial things. And in fact, this whole idea of the Fiverr challenge, and I would encourage people to look that up, the Fiverr challenge, it's well documented, and the ability for, so it takes about 4 weeks, I think it's a 4-week program over the summer, and it allows the under 11s, they do the Fiverr challenge, and the over 11s do the tenner challenge. And the idea is it's pledging £5 as a group, as an individual in a group, and then you decide how you want to put that money to work. And what you're getting back really is the lesson, and then you're getting to keep the profit for the school or for whatever purpose. But at the same time, you're building, I suppose, in the minds of our younger people, the ability to think outside of SATs, rows and rows of kids doing SATs tests that nobody can really follow the logic behind that. So I applaud Ed for getting the children out of the SATs room, into the garden, into different places. I mean, wax-tastic, that's fantastic. I mean, coming up with new ideas, and I'm sure those young brains will come up with some brilliant concepts, and so could our listeners too. So what are you doing with yours? And it doesn't have to be something big. Greta Thunberg just took Friday off school and said, I'm not going to school while these things are going on, So you can take small steps. And in my view, we talk in Wealth Builders, for our Wealth Builders members who are building their wealth, Chris, we talk about never let 30 days go by without doing something positive towards building your wealth. It isn't always about building wealth, because sometimes you need to learn something. Sometimes you need to plant a seed, don't you? And I think we just want to encourage our parents to also do something similar with their family. Just in the language perhaps worth thinking about is just do one thing. What one thing can you do to get your child of any age, the next generation, to do something that develops their mindset around entrepreneurialism, around money, around sharing even, and doing something for somebody else.
Yeah. So some great things there, and hopefully inspiration. And if you think, well, that would be great at my school, then why not speak to them, put a little bit of pressure on, try and encourage the school to take some action, as Ed said, just ask, because it's starting to now have a ripple effect across the country, which is fantastic to see. And in future sessions focused on families within our community, Kevin, you'll be doing one soon, in the next couple of weeks, I believe, around financial products for children and teenagers as well. So a big question that we're getting asked within the community.
Yes, and that's a constantly evolving thing, really. I like to call it products and practices, because there's things you can do that can help make money, and there are products that exist, whether it's in the banking arena, from different bank accounts, different ways of interacting with money. We know, we've spoken about before, the increasing invisibility of money. So also understanding that if you're going to use prepaid debit cards, that you can keep an eye on what's going on, but they can use their money and interact with buying and selling things in an easy way. We still want to bring the tactile nature of money into the lives of our younger people as well, so they don't lose sight of that. because it's too easy to lose sight of it in the way the world is going. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about things that children perhaps won't see. They might see later, like junior ISAs, junior pensions, things like that. Also, premium bonds is a big thing, simply because it's an easy thing you can use to make as a donation, 25 quid. It's not a big thing. Lots of different things, as well as tax planning. All children have got a tax-free allowance, the same as you and I have. So how do you use that? What are the different things that you can do to bring value to you as a family? Remember, it's the wealth of the whole family. And that will include what can grandparents and relatives do as well.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, we'll be looking forward to that session, and hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode. Well, we will be here as usual, same time, same place next week.
We will indeed. And until then, my friend, see ya. Also, see you, Stuart.